What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American Politics, back in with a new video, and today we are starting a new series on this channel. This is not going to be a regular, scheduled content video, whatever you want to call it. This is going to be kind of, once every couple months when a big issue happens, across the country, and I want to decipher and kind of give you guys, I guess you could say, a general idea how each state is on a related issue. And today's video is a perfect example how I personally believe each state stands on abortion. Now, this takes into account the voter demographics, the state's political lean, etc., etc., plus the laws they got on the books. Because, a state like Colorado, yeah, you could definitely tell it has, their laws alone are probably a more pro-choice state. But I just want to do this, every now and again when there's this hot topic going on, maybe immigration, etc. So there is 3 tiers, or I guess you could say lists, whatever, of states. Pro-choice, moderate, pro-life. Now, when I say pro-choice, I'm talking about basically virtually no restrictions on abortion. Upwards of you allow abortion in the 3rd trimester, that type of stuff. That's what I consider to be a pro-choice state. Moderate, I think is a vague term, but a lot of Americans I do think fall under this category. They are fine with abortion, but they want restrictions on it, late-term abortion, they want banned. They want common sense stuff like parental notification, consent, etc. Not just, abortion willy-nilly. There's some restrictions on it. Then you got pro-life. These voters, or I guess you could say states, they generally have more restrictive abortion laws, a more pro-life base. They want more restrictions on abortion. I think that's the best way to do it. I want to do this. I want to see how you guys feel about it. This is my opinion, but it's taking into account many things. Now, before I continue, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter accounts in the description down below, and join the channel today. Guys, just for $3 a month, you could join Real American Politics. Only $3 a month. That's a phenomenal deal to help support the daily content we all know and love. So I hope you join today. Alright, let's get into it. And I think we can knock off a lot of these fairly quickly. I think we all know some very obvious pro-choice states. All the West Coast states, Hawaii, Colorado, I would say most of the Northeast, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, I would say is a pro-choice state. New Hampshire, Maine, Maryland, I would probably put in that category. And those are the 4 sure. There will be a couple more pro-choice states, obviously, but a couple of them are a bit more fascinating. New York, of course, and New Jersey. So yeah, these are the states that I can safely say, yeah, these are the pro-choice states, no matter how you argue it. Now, for the pro-life states, it's mostly, of course, going to be in the South, mostly. Parts of the Great Plains, I do think, are pro-life, and the state of Utah. You could make an argument, their abortion law is not that restrictive. I still think overall the voters of Utah, they generally are more pro-life than not. So yeah, so far I would say, without a shred of a doubt, there's 17 states that I would consider to be more pro-life. I already hear people saying, Kentucky had a abortion referendum that failed. Yeah. Again, I made a whole video on this topic, and quite frankly, it came down to funding and people not understanding what the abortion referendum did. It was misconceived by the pro-choice crowd what it actually did. So yeah, this is kind of the for sure, no argument about it, states in my honest opinion, and we'll go from here on out. So let's start in the state of Alaska. Surprisingly, it is one of the most pro-choice states in the country. I didn't originally think that. I thought, okay, Alaska's weird, but maybe has restrictions. Nope. It has abortion at any point. It has a more open abortion law than California. That's pathetic, but I think you can make the argument that Alaska is a fairly pro-choice state. Just on that front, I mean, There's a lot of stuff where it's like they're one of the only states to have that unrestricted abortion. It's a clown show, but I do think overall it is more of a pro-choice state. Now we got Nevada, and it's pro-choice, but it's not as pro-choice as some people would say compared to other states. Like, yes, Nevada has a large percent of people that say they're pro-choice. When you look at the bills they got, or laws they got on the books, compared to some of the states around them, they're not as radical. But I still think overall, Nevada is what you would call a pro-choice state. Now we get the great state of Arizona. This is a hot debate, but they do have a fairly restrictive abortion law, and they have a chunk of voters that I do think they're more moderate. They're definitely the more moderate crowd when it comes to the issue of abortion. They're not, gun-ho, but they're the voters that they would support late-term restrictions, stuff like parental consent, stuff like that. They would be more of a moderate abortion crowd. Similar to Montana, it's weird, but you have a lot of voters that are diehard pro-life voters, at the same time a lot of diehard pro-choice voters. It's a fascinating state because it is a bit more libertarian, but Montana, in my opinion, is more of that pro-choice, or I should say moderate state, on the issue of abortion. Now, New Mexico, surprisingly, even with its massive Hispanic population, you would think, that probably would indicate a bit more of a pro-life state. Well, not really. There's a lot of white liberals in the state of New Mexico that kind of screws it up. If it wasn't for that, plus the fact it's a D plus, 15 state, they could have been a moderate state on abortion, but I really doubt it. I think they are more of that pro-choice state than not. Now, Kansas. We all know about the referendum that happened this last summer, and it doesn't indicate, I would say, much, because that was a terribly worded referendum question, happened at a bad time, all that. I still think overall, it is more of a moderate state on the issue of abortion. It is fairly moderate compared to most Republican states. It's a joke that that's the case, but we live in that reality. It's a moderate state on the issue of abortion. It's a joke, but hey, Kansas is not known for their social conservatism. Just look at their politicians they got. Outside of Roger Marshall, their delegation to the Senate and the House is a joke. So yeah, Kansas, I would say, is a bit more of a moderate state on abortion. Texas, no doubt about it, pro-life. I just didn't put it here because there's some debate about it. All that stuff. But Texas, in my opinion, is a definition of a pro-life state. Sure, it has become a bit more Democrat the past couple of years. Sure. But it still is a fairly pro-life state. Iowa, I would put in that category too. They just passed a full-on abortion ban, which the courts, by the way, are acting like clowns in this situation. But Iowa, in my opinion, is a pro-life state. Similar to the great state of Ohio. Florida, a lot of these states, they are no-brainers in my opinion. They're all getting extreme abortion bans, which is a good thing. North Carolina, I would also put in this pro-life category. Now, that doesn't mean they want abortion banned 100%. They just want abortion banned before or after 15 weeks. That's kind of what the pro-life standard is, in my opinion, for this map. It's not a full-on heartbeat ban, just when they want abortion banned. Most voters in North Carolina, I can guarantee you, would support an abortion ban after 15 weeks at the latest. Even if you could go 10 weeks, majority would support it. So I think you could consider that a pro-life state. Georgia, ooh. Now, this is a weird one because I think locally the voters are fairly pro-life. Federal elections, not so much. It's just a weird situation. I mean, Brian Kemp, had an extreme abortion ban, but it's like he's beloved in the state. Does that mean, it's a gun-ho pro-life state? No, but I think there are a chunk of voters in Georgia that vote Democrat, but are pro-choice vote or pro-life voters. Rural black voters. They tend to be more pro-life than people would originally think. So I think overall it adds up to it being a pro-life state. Now, Illinois, I would say, is a pro-choice state. I forgot to mark that down. I mean, they're trying to be the pro-choice hub of the Midwest. Yeah, that's not good. Minnesota, they may have the most extreme unrestricted abortion law in America. I mean, unfettered abortion. I mean, there's no transparency to it. Anybody could perform it. Yeah, it's a pro-choice state. It's a disaster what's happened in Minnesota, but it is what it is. Now we're getting to my hot take, my great state of Wisconsin. I have maybe a bit of a bias towards me, but, I think it is overall a pro-life state. I think the state of Wisconsin is more pro-life than you would think. I do wish eventually we would have a referendum at the presidential election, some kind of referendum that's funded on both sides evenly. And we'll see how pro-life Wisconsin is. But many of the voters I do know, a chunk of them, they vote Democrat all the time. They want abortions restricted after 20 weeks for Democrat voters. It's like, yeah, I think there's a lot of voters in the state of Wisconsin. They may vote Democrat still, but a chunk of them, they want abortion restricted after 20 weeks. What does that tell you about the rest of the state? I think overall it is a pro-life state. Now, Michigan. I think Michigan is moderate on the issue of abortion. I don't think it's gun-ho pro-choice. People are going to say, oh, what about the referendum? Well, the referendum that passed allows restrictions on abortion. So it's like, did that play a factor in its large victory? Did Dixon getting crushed play a factor? Kind of hard to tell. But I think overall, Michigan and the state of Pennsylvania, they both are what you would consider to be moderate states on the issue of abortion. I think both of them are, Pennsylvania is actually, I would say, probably more pro-choice than Michigan, but I would say overall, they are roughly the same. Now, Virginia. Virginia, it has voted Democrat heavily in the past for federal elections, voted for Biden by 11 points? Even then, there's just something about Virginia that they're not as, left-wing on some issues as you would think. Stuff like abortion, for example, I don't think they're as pro-choice as many people would assume. Now, there's an argument to be made about, what about Fairfax and all that stuff? It's like, look, Democrats ran on nothing but abortion in 2021 in Virginia, in 2022 as well. They ran on nothing but abortion. Yet Hunkel almost won. It's like, I don't think it's as pro-choice as many people think. I don't think it's a pro-life bastion either. But Youngkin is about to hopefully pass some abortion restrictions. He's been talking a lot about it. And his popularity goes up. It's like, I think it's more of a moderate state on abortion. Now, Delaware, I think, is pro-choice. I don't think it's as pro-choice as other states. But Delaware, or Rhode Island, this one, oh boy. This is going to cause a lot of mayhem in the comments. It is, of course, pro-choice. You thought I was going to put it moderate. Yes, I think the Rhode Island as a whole is a bit more pro-life than the rest of the Northeast. I mean, their Democrat Party isn't necessarily the most pro-choice Democrat Party in the world. Either way, it still is in the Northeast. I got to see some more data to back up the idea that it could be a bit more of a pro-choice state than people would think. And this, folks, is my current, pro-choice, moderate, pro-life map of the U.S. There's 6 states I would really consider, maybe 7, I would consider be moderate states. I think there are 20 or so states that are pro-choice, 24, 23, 25 states, I would say roughly, are pro-life. You can make an argument about Wisconsin. I personally believe it is more of a pro-life state than people give credit for. But yeah, I think most people can agree that outside of maybe Virginia, Wisconsin, this is probably about right. Again, when I say pro-choice, I'm talking about past, third trimester stuff. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter account in the description down below, and join the channel today. We'll see you guys in the next video. Godspeed to all of you.